So, Representative, tell the voters in Pennsylvania who say, I don't know, after last night, I don't know, is he up to the job? What's the answer?
Absolutely, Big John is up to the job. 6'8", lieutenant governor, a friend to Pennsylvanians, well known. Pennsylvanians are gritty, they are pointed, and they accept challenges. They work hard. They've been coal miners. They've got energy resources that they have to get going into the market. John represents that grittiness, that determination. And here's my point. He got knocked down. There's no doubt that he got knocked down, but he got up. And what I saw last night was a man open up with saying, here's my condition. But he was back out tonight and indicating just who he is and just how he is prepared to serve. I just want to finish on this note, Cuomo. Mm-hmm. Where are we if we're to determine that people who have a moment that they're down in illness or they have a physical challenge, they are blind, they are deaf, or they have other challenges, and they can't serve? No. I believe, knowing the Congress, knowing people that I've seen in various conditions, John Fetterman can represent the people of Pennsylvania with the fight and the commitment to all of them.
I'm not questioning the man's heart. It's a question of his head. People who have different disabilities or challenges, if you can't see, doesn't mean you can't think. If you're in a wheelchair, doesn't mean you can't think and reason. The question is, can John Fetterman do what you just did so well? Use his voice to make arguments and to advocate and to fight. I'm not questioning his heart. I'm questioning his capabilities after what was happening. At a minimum, doesn't he have to have some doctor make the case that that's not his best that was seen last night?
Well, as he said, his physician said he's able to serve. It was not his best. He admitted that it was not his best, but he's in the midst of healing 5 months ago. If elected to the United States Senate, he won't be serving until sometime in January. And that will be a continuing healing process. But if the gentleman is out there fighting, if he's got his boxing gloves on, that means he's going to work real hard to continue his cerebral progress. And he did make some strong statements. He knew what it was when Dr. Oz literally said, I'm going to bind a woman to a condition of the government in the room with the doctor, her and her family. He's going to yield to a particularly outrageous government in the different states like Texas that would deny a woman the right to choose because we have a horrible SB 8 that even has bounty hunters. If he was so, naive to think we're going to get away with saying, I'm going to yield to the states, and Dr. Oz thinks we're going to fall for that. John Fetterman got him on that and said, you can't even say that a woman has a right to choose. That's one of the big elements. I believe he can handle the inflation issue because John cares about workers and workers' families, and he'll be standing in the gap, working with President Biden to try to find how we get this darn inflation down, as all the Democrats are. Well, so yes, I think he will have the time to do that.
So the question is really, I hear you about reproductive rights, and certainly Dr. Oz has changed his position on that. And he found a flatline position last night of saying, I don't want the federal government in it. It should just be the states. And I get that. But most people in that state are voting on the economy. And I just had Bill O'Reilly on, but it's not a unique position to him, that you guys get beat by the economy. You can't win on it. Inflation is on your watch. Everybody's hurting at home, and you haven't fixed it. So you lose. What's the counter?
The counter is, I know people don't like looking over their shoulder, but we were dumped with a Trump catastrophic tax cut, dumped in our lap, that literally took the undergird from the United States. We had to carry through the pandemic, and we carried America through. And Americans, please look in your pocketbooks on what we carried you through during the pandemic, from the child tax credit to the PPP. Oh, yes, there were some slippery people, but most of the small business, I just came out of a small business meeting, Cuomo, and everybody shook their head yes when I said we helped you get out of the pandemic.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.